If any guy out there in high school, junior high, wants to play the point guard position, they should try to be like John Stockton.
It's FYF Sports Man. It's Lamont, man. We back with another podcast episode. We got to talk about it. We got a little bit of 90s basketball on the docket for the day. We're talking about John Stockton, man. And look, I've been somebody that's been highly critical of the 90s. You guys have seen my video series on the 90s, but a lot of those videos and that content is focused on the teams of the 90s, and it's not necessarily focused on individuals. I feel that a lot of players within that era suffered with regards to a lot of the team accomplishments because of the league expansion, because of the rules with regards to free agency. But when we talk about the individuality of a player and how great that individual player is, I don't think we can take that away from those players of the 90s. And I think one of those players that, for whatever reason, when I hear these conversations about point guards and everybody's trying to create their list of their top 5 and top 10, I'm seeing this narrative get pushed about John Stockton that he is no longer a top 5 point guard. He is not this elite point guard that we thought he was. And it just makes me scratch my head because when you watch him play the game, simple as it might look, it's highly efficient. And he's the point guard that most players would love to have on their team. A guy that can effectively move the ball. He's not trying to do too much, but he has enough in his bag to get the job done. If he's asked to score, he can knock down shots. I just don't see how he's been denigrated to such a level to where we now have to try to talk about him as if he's not a top 10 point guard of all time, let alone top 5. But let's just go ahead and do a quick breakdown of who John Stockton was. I think we just need a reminder, a refresher on his game. And this is what FYF Sports is here to do. We have to educate people because I'm just hearing too many people throw out fake logic, fake stats, fake statistics, and they say a lot of things without any substance to support the things that they say, let alone even dispel the great NBA players like Magic Johnson and even Gary Payton, who say he's a top 3 point guard of all time. So even the player testimony doesn't support this nonsense. But let's just give everybody a reminder who Stockton was. And then we can get back to kind of dispelling some of the new narratives. And again, I need to say new narratives that people are trying to push so that they can propagate their new top 5 list. And they have to find a reason to kick a guy like John Stockton out by creating lies. Let's go ahead and get to the video. John Stockton's name is synonymous with precision and skill in the realm of all basketball point guards. John Stockton's ball handling was a spectacle of control and finesse. His low dribble kept turnovers to a minimum. He only averaged 2.8 per game over the course of his career. It wasn't just about keeping the ball safe. John Stockton's dribbling ability was a strategic tool that he used to help set up plays and dissecting some of the best defenses of the 90s with unparalleled court vision. His assist-to-turnover ratio was an impressive 3.72. It ranks among the best in NBA history, showcasing his ability to create opportunities while maintaining the possession. This skill set made Stockton the NBA's all-time assist leader. It's a testament to his mastery in orchestrating the game's flow and tempo. John Stockton is not just a player, but a maestro on the basketball court, earning him a rightful place among the top 5 point guards of all time. With a career field goal percentage of 51%, John Stockton demonstrated exceptional efficiency, which is a rarity among point guards of his era or even any era. His ability to shoot was versatile, effective in the mid-range with jumpers, layups in traffic, and even beyond the arc, where he maintained a 38.4% three-point shooting average. In his early playoff years, John Stockton was actually a dominant scorer, averaging over 25 points per game in the playoffs. This period highlighted his capability to take charge offensively when needed. Even when coaching changes altered his style, Stockton's playoff performances remained stellar. He consistently found ways to score alongside his renowned playmaking ability. Stockton's adaptability in the clutch especially with scoring in the playoffs, solidifies his status as one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. John Stockton, often celebrated for his offense, was equally formidable on the defensive end as well as a true two-way player. Stockton, a master of anticipation, ranked first in NBA history for total steals, a testament to his defensive prowess and basketball IQ. His defensive style was aggressive yet calculated, leading to an average of 2.2 steals per game over the course of his career, disrupting countless plays. Stockton's ability to read the game translated into formidable on-ball defense. He consistently challenged and contained some of the best guards of his era. Beyond steals, Stockton's defensive contributions included drawing charges and providing help defense, integral to the Utah Jazz's defensive schemes. His defensive acumen, often overshadowed, was crucial in making John Stockton one of the most complete point guards in NBA history. John Stockton's, a name synonymous with the pick and roll, elevated this play to an art form in the NBA. While Stockton and Malone's synergy was legendary, it's a misconception that all of Stockton's assists were to Malone. Stockton's vision extended to all of his teammates. Stockton's career total assists, a staggering 15,806, wasn't just Malone made. He adeptly fed sharpshooters like Jeff Hornacek, Mark Eaton, and among others. His pick and roll plays often led to open shots for perimeter players, cutters, not just the rolling big man, showcasing his ability to read defenses and make split-second decisions. Stockton's assist breakdown shows a distribution to various positions, proving his adaptability and understanding of the game's dynamics beyond the Stockton and Malone narrative. This mastery of the pick and roll and his equatable distribution of assists cements Stockton's legacy as one of the most intelligent and versatile point guards in NBA history. It is unfortunate that we live in an era where flash often overshadows fundamentals. John Stockton's legacy stands as a testament to the power of simplicity and efficiency in basketball. Stockton's game, devoid of frills, focused on effectiveness. His consistent performance and unassuming leadership redefine the point guard role. For those who equate greatness with spectacle, Stockton's career is a reminder that true basketball excellence often lies in the purity of the game's basics. So there we have it right there, man. John Stockton. I believe he's one of the top 5 point guards in NBA history. I think he kind of set the standard what point guard play should look like, especially if we're talking about true point guards. And I know we live in an era where, because of the changes in the game, because the changes in defensive strategies, that in some cases you may need a bit more than a true point guard. Just like we see with the Golden State Warriors, maybe in that system, your point guard needs to be the leading scorer while others facilitate. But in the case with John Stockton, when we're talking about that true point guard role, and that does still exist in basketball, even though there are other styles of point guard play that have been introduced. When we're talking about that style, that is a mastery that he conquered, and that art still transcends into almost any era. The way he played could transcend into any era. So I just think, man, one of the worst things about this era of basketball is the way people are taught to see the game, and the way people accept what greatness is. If your game doesn't have a combination of skill, athleticism, and that equates to highlights, a lot of people won't accept it as true greatness. And I think that's one of the things that we've seen with a player like LeBron James. As his athleticism has waned, he still brings a ton of skill to the game, but as it's waned, people aren't convinced that it's that great or that significant. But while players like the Giannis's and Embiid's, the guys that can combine that size, skill, and athleticism because they are in their primes, well, their games are looked at a bit differently. So I just think with a guy like John Stockton, he took the gifts that he had. Obviously, athleticism wasn't a God-given gift, but he took his God-given gift, which was court vision, and he used it to the max degree. He maximized the skill set that he had. He maximized and showcased to everyone what efficiency was. And he displayed a talent that not anyone can replicate. Court vision is just one of those talents that you will not see replicated. I think it's a God-given ability, the ability to connect the mind with what you're actually doing, to make these split-second decisions in real time with the speed of an NBA game. Yes, some of those bounce passes or some of those passes through traffic look very basic because he didn't add the little no look with it, because he didn't have the speed or the size of a Magic Johnson. But to be able to connect the mind with the action in real time and do that repeatedly over and over and over and still play at the efficient level that he did, offensively still play at an extremely efficient level, being able to take smart shots, make smart shots. This is something that is become a lost art in today's game. And again, if I have to give any knock to the way the game is looked at today, that would be it. And I think far too many people look at what they see today and that they use that as the standard for greatness, as opposed to fairly juxtaposing what the game was in any given era, from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s. This is why I say we need to stop crossing eras and trying to compare and move players from one era to another, trying to envision what Stockton will look like in today's game, trying to envision what Bill Russell will look like in today's game. I think that's one of the biggest flaws. And I think this is one of the reasons why when I did that video and I said players like Michael Jordan will ultimately be forgotten, it's because of the way people think in this actual era. Right? As crazy as it might sound that players like Stockton, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell will be forgotten, as crazy as it sounds, it's actually happening right before our eyes. When we see these lists, top 5 point guards, and all of a sudden people are moving John Stockton out of the top 5, out of the top 10, because the optics of his game don't pass this so-called eye test. When we see people move Bill Russell, who was generally in most people's top 7 or 8, they're moving him out of the top 10, bumping other guys in, but they're doing it with no real reason other than the fact that they cannot juxtapose what they're seeing if they go back and watch and then fairly compare that to what was going on at that time. What was greatness in the 60s? What was greatness in the 70s? What was greatness in the 80s? I think it's unfair to look at what is greatness in 2020 on forward and then apply that standard to every single player of the past, and that's how you make your top 10. So again, I've been a harsh critic of the 90s. I've been a harsh critic of Michael Jordan and those Bulls teams. But what I won't do is I won't be unfair and take away from the individuality of a player and then judge them on things that they couldn't control. If you play basketball, if you are a young point guard out there, John Stockton is still a player you want to look to learn the point guard position. Maybe you don't. Maybe because of the advanced skills required to play point guard today, you have to add a little bit more. But if you want a foundational basis on how to play the point guard position, you have to look to players like John Stockton, Magic Johnson, these guys, right? Because the point guard position is still the point guard position. There's still a level of responsibility that the point guard has and will always have. And those gems can only be understood by watching players like John Stockton. But to me, John Stockton is a top 5 point guard. Anybody that says otherwise, I would really tell you guys, I would highly question their basketball acumen. And because I honestly don't care what new analytics have been created today, which remember you guys, analytics that have been created, some of these new analytical measurements that have been created, it's created for what is great in today's game. A lot of these analytical measurements weren't created to define or identify greatness in past eras. It doesn't take into consideration the style of play, the pace of past eras. It doesn't take into consideration coaching. And when we talk about a player like John Stockton, early in his career, he was an offensive monster. He was asked to go out and score and go get buckets. Coaching changes came in, pace, rule changes kicked into the 90s, and it completely redefined who he was as a player. How do we computate all of those things? And how do we fairly judge a player if that evidence is sitting right in front of us? I don't know, man. These are things that we're just going to have to figure out for ourselves. And, it's my job here at FYF Sports, man. Like I said, even if I'm a critic or something, I still want to be fair. And John Stockton is just one of those players where it's just undeniable who he is and where his greatness lies. But look, it's FYF Sports, man. There's been another great podcast episode. Smash the like button. Fill up those comments, man, if you got any thoughts on this particular video. What are y'all thoughts on John Stockton? Where do you think he falls? Have you fell into that trap of removing him from one of the most elite point guards of all time because you've conflicted and conflated greatness from today's era and you want to apply what great is today to what greatness might have been in the 90s or other eras? Is that you? Let me know in the comments, man. It's FYF Sports, man. Another great podcast episode. We're going to be back with more sports and news. But until then, it's FYF Sports, and we out.